Hello there, and welcome to Thursday Night Reconnected. And tonight is one I've been looking forward to for a long time. We got James from 20th and 21st Movies. James, thanks for doing this. What's going on?
Well, thank you, Ryan. It's been a busy week, but I am really happy to be on here tonight, and really do appreciate you having me. It's kind of it's weird weather here in Georgia. I looked at my watch yesterday and looked on the app and saw 60 degrees all day, and so I'm thinking, okay, I wake up in the morning, it's 60 degrees, and just a few days ago it was like 17 degrees.
Yep.
So it's just crazy weather, busy times, but really excited about the new year as it's gotten started, and really happy to be on your channel tonight. I appreciate your invitation.
Eager to have you. We tried to do this a couple months ago, and we just said, hey, let's keep the same topic, which is why it's horror related. It was going to be in October, and
Yep.
things just didn't quite work out. And then getting rescheduled. I it used to be I was scheduling people to come on this sometimes day of, and was getting people, hey, can you do this, please? I only have a couple hours left, and now I think now I'm scheduled all the way out through the end of March at the moment.
Oh,
It's
wow.
wild. It's been so busy. Lots of people excited to have you here, though. Lots of people that are familiar with the channel, but for everybody else that isn't, can you tell us what you do on your channel?
Oh, sure. My channel is 20th and 21st Movies. My name is James, and we basically are one of our taglines is where all things cinema. So we focus on a lot of Criterion Collection physical media coverage, as well as Arrow Video, Kino Lorber, but it's really all things cinema. So it's mostly movie coverage, but also other areas of cinema as it relates to cinematic TV shows. But we just love the medium of movies, and we cover a lot of physical media coverage, and just love talking about all things cinema. A lot of Criterion Collection physical media reviews, as well as over the last couple of years gotten more into Arrow Video and Kino Lorber as well. So those are the main labels that I'm currently into, but definitely looking to expand a little bit beyond that, into other labels, as well as talk a little bit about the Criterion channel this year. So really exciting stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, the channel is an area that I've not really dove into. I mean, my to watch pile around this room is so it's so deep that I can't
Yes.
even like to fathom getting another streaming service is intimidating already. But
Yes.
it's Criterion, and I kind of want to support it. And I know that they've got a lot of the bonus features on there, and a lot of the stuff that hasn't made the jump to HD yet that I don't
Mhm.
have. So it's tough. I definitely want to check it out.
Yep. Yeah, so I went
Cri
ahead and like I got the subscription, a short time ago, and I just need to start diving into it. So,
Criterion's probably a good place to start. I had hoped to time it so that you could be here the week of Criterion announcements. Just missed it, unfortunately. One thing that I've done for the last couple of years has been a little harsh on Criterion. I've softened up this year because I feel like they've been releasing better films. But
mhm.
I'm curious what you think, since you focus so much on Criterion. I don't think I've heard like a state of the label from you in quite some time. How do you feel like they are at the moment? How do you feel like they have perhaps held on to their status as top notch?
Well, I think there's a lot. I think there are other labels that could make a rightful claim to that top notch. I mean, I've gotten into Arrow Video, and I tell you what, I absolutely love their 4K limited edition packaging. I those some of those box sets I absolutely just fall in love with, like
Yeah.
the Tenebrae box set, the
Mm,
Barbarella set. I mean, it's a totally cheesy film with Jane Fonda, but it's a film you can easily fall in love with. But the packaging that they put into it is just fantastic, with those posters, a nice sturdy box,
yeah.
the standard black case, and the movie cards, and the nice, pretty decently thick book. So it's a pretty nice package that Arrow's putting together. I think as far as the state of the label for Criterion, I think they're putting out some solid films. But in recent years, the supplements have kind of stepped back a little bit for a lot of
Yeah.
their releases. But then they'll come out with a release that is just packed with special features, and you'll be like, okay, that's what you would like to
Right.
see on, more of their releases. But I can tell that they've kind of pulled back a little bit, on the supplements, and some of the packaging may not be as lavish as, for some of the releases as they have been in the past. So, and I think that's just a, reflection of just, trying to, reduce costs and, the challenging, environment. But, other labels, are stepping up and providing some nice, packaging on a lot of their releases. So I think they're getting some good competition, and I think that's, better for us as physical media collectors. So
I feel like they, if they can't get the filmmakers for the film, they kind of give up on the supplements and they don't do a
mhm.
whole lot, which I get that. I think that it's valuable to have that, especially like After Hours was a good one over this last year. They got that really nice commentary with everybody that was involved in it. That one is stacked.
Yeah, this one's a really good one. I mean, Guillermo del Toro, he's one of their favorites in terms of filmmakers, and so he contributed a lot to the features on this one. This is in terms of this adaptation of the Pinocchio story, I thought it was okay. But what I really appreciated about this was the love and the care that they put
Yep.
into the special features, and learning about, Guillermo del Toro's passion around the process of making this film, the whole stop motion process, him and Mark Gustafson's vision with this. So it was really more about the supplements and learning about how the film was made that really made this one for me.
I still need to see that one. I'm eager to. I'm waiting for that next sale. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, Criterion, obviously, like we both said, have been doing some good films. I just wish they stepped into the academic support that a lot of the other labels have done with
Mhm.
special features, bring in some of the experts, and um, I don't know, bring in some other people. There's a lot of the films that are important that I think they would get some great features for. They've just like seemingly chosen not to do it. It's an
Yeah.
interesting choice, but I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity that they could, probably step up a little bit, more in. I do think one of the things I do appreciate that they have been doing in recent years is sort of broadening the tent of,
yes,
bringing more filmmakers and filmmaking voices into the collection. Whether they be, filmmakers of color, but just across the board, just,
right.
really broadening that tent, and not just being about, Fellini or Kurosawa or Francois Truffaut, but really bringing in a lot more filmmakers that in the past might not have been in the collection. So I think they've done a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, diversity seems to be a clear focus for them for at least the last 2.5 or 3 years, and I think they're doing well with it. I mean, they're still hitting their heavy hitters. We've gotten 2 from Scorsese over the last year. We've gotten, many more female filmmakers in the last year than we used to. We've gotten many more filmmakers of color than we used to. We've gotten a lot of small films. That's been one of the things that I've noticed too. There are things that were perhaps even like understated. Many people not even heard of the films that were newer, and they wouldn't get love before this. So it's nice to see that happen.
Yeah.
Uh, how about recent pickups? It's probably about that time. Anything that you've got physically lately that you want to share with the group?
Yeah. I've got a couple of the recent criterions that have come out that I've done reviews on the channel. Blood Simple.
Mm.
This is probably my third favorite Coen Brothers film, behind
Ooh.
No Country for Old Men and Fargo. So there's an existing Blu-ray in the collection. This is a 4K upgrade, and this is just a fantastic film. I basically reviewed, this in terms of the overall edition, but the comparison to, the standard Blu-ray, and I guess the long and short of it is this is a really good 4K, but it's the same 4K restoration that's on that Blu-ray that came out a few years ago. So oftentimes when it's the same 4K restoration, you're not going to see a huge jump from the Blu-ray to the 4K. And that's the case here. And so it's not that the 4K is not good. It's just being compared to an already great
Right.
Blu-ray. But yeah, if you don't already have this on Blu-ray, I highly recommend this 4K. And then Lone Star from
Ooh.
Criterion. So this is obviously a really nice film from John Sayles, independent filmmaker. I'd never seen it before and really enjoyed this one as well. So, and it looks fantastic on a 4K. So those are a couple of the recent pickups, as well as I haven't watched this, but I saw it in theaters, and it's probably going to win Best Picture. Oppenheimer, of course.
Nice, nice.
I say probably going to win Best Picture, but I think your Best Picture winner is one of these right here. You know,
Interesting.
either this one, which I think most people think, but don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if this wins. You know, Past
See,
Lives.
Past Lives was my favorite film from last year. I would love to see it win. I don't know. With Oppenheimer getting every nomination under the sun, basically, I'm worried for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I expect Oppenheimer to win. I expect Christopher Nolan probably to get director, Robert Downey Jr. to get Best Supporting Actor,
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy. I really expect Oppenheimer to kill it, you know, in March, and because it's just a phenomenal film. But who knows? Past Lives might swoop in and take that picture award. We'll see.
I've got 3 tonight. I've got one that's unique, so I'm gonna wait till we're talking about some announcements to show the third one. This first one, I did not expect to get this. This is the Book of Hearth, a DVD that MVD sent me to check out for them, and it's a really interesting documentary about a guy that took a Bible around and got famous people to sign the Bible.
Oh, okay.
Interesting story. If you're into that sort of thing, it's a fun one. Fairly
That sounds
cheap
awesome.
DVD. Yeah. And then the other one, I don't even know how to present this. This is a big deal for me. I finally got in hand Spider Labyrinth 4K from Severin, and considering this is the first film to have my name in the special features on the back,
Oh my
I'm just
God.
stoked to finally have this.
Awesome.
I think it's hilarious that this is the first one that we've completed. We recorded our commentary and did our visual essay somewhere around October, I think it was, and we've been doing this since last summer, and this is the first one that I have in my hand. And
Oh my goodness. Oh,
yeah,
so you did the audio commentary for that?
audio commentary and a visual essay. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome, right?
yeah, it's it's exploded. When we were talking and I said I was busy, I think we have 7 visual essays or featurettes that we're working on right now that are all going out like in the next week. So it's
Nice.
a busy time. It's just it's
That's
surreal to
awesome, man.
hold something like that in your hand finally.
That is awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That is great, man.
Yeah, we've got a lot on the docket. If people are interested in those, pay attention to the announcements. There's at least one getting announced next week, and many more in the coming weeks. So here we go.
All right. Audio commentary by Ryan Varel.
How
Awesome.
about some recent watches other than those 2 Criterions? Anything that you checked out recently?
Well, yeah. So of course I've watched those, and then recently I'm actually in progress. I got about 30 minutes left of this film here. I've been started watching. I put it in the player the other night, and I've sort of, it's gonna be like broken up into thirds. You know, I've watched like the first 35 minutes, and then I've watched another 35 minutes last night. And tonight I may be able to get across the finish line and finish The Warriors. Very interesting film. It's this one of those lavish Arrow video packages.
Yeah.
I mean, tons of special features. I'm looking forward to going through and just learning more about this film. But it's really a cool film. I've never seen this before, so this is a new watch for me. And I just dig the aesthetic and just what's going on, the vibe of this of this film. It's just one of those nice discoveries, whether it be from a Criterion or Arrow or Kino. But yeah, I'm still watching this, so that's in progress. And I'm about to do a director spotlight on Miss Sofia Coppola. So getting up on her filmography. So I watched this film here that's been in my backlog, Lost in Translation.
Nice.
Which is, Bill Murray and ScarJo before she became Black Widow. So this is a really interesting and beautiful film. So really like that. Bong Joon-ho, Snowpiercer. Saw this recently. And I mean, I've seen it before, but this is of course Chris Hemsworth in a non-Captain America role. But yeah, this is a really good film. Have you seen Snowpiercer?
I have. Bong Joon-ho is one of my favorites. I've been trying to get somebody to talk about him on one of these episodes for a long time. I adore Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah, he's just fantastic. He's got a number of films in the collection, with Parasite, and Okja and Memories of Murder. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would love to have more of him in the collection. And of course, my favorite director, Alfred Hitchcock. I've
Mm.
seen in this set Rope, which is such a great film, and this is a fantastic 4K. It's a nice little upgrade over this old Blu-ray
Just slightly
traditional.
better, yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to going through the rest of this because these are some of the films that I actually haven't seen from Hitchcock. Like I've seen the original The Man Who Knew Too Much, but this is his remake of his own film. So
Yeah.
the original came out in 1934. It's on Criterion, but this is his 1956 remake that has James Stewart and Doris Day. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. And then Paul Newman and I think Torn Curtain, then Topaz and Frenzy. So I'm looking forward to checking out those films. But yeah, I really love these Hitchcock sets. Hitchcock
Yeah.
is, to me, he's the best. He is the greatest of all time. So yeah.
I'm very curious to check out your review of Frenzy because there are so many people that love Hitchcock and then go, except for Frenzy. But I,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty underrated.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
good one. Recent watches for me, not a ton. It has been well, there's been a lot, but not a lot that I can say because we're working on them. The other one, I went to the theater for the first time in like 2 months, and I was able to check out the Mean Girls musical, which is not
Oh,
one that a lot of people have been talking about. So I just want to say it's much better than the reviews are letting it out to be. If
okay.
you like the original, it's got a lot of the same beats, it's got a lot of the same jokes, updated a little bit. The music is not bad. Unfortunately, it's the same sort of problems that you get from the stage to screen adaptations where the music is a bit of a letdown. It's they can't belt like they do on stage in Broadway, so it's a
Yeah.
little quiet and you can tell that they're toned down, but it's fun. It's well made. It's got a lot of the same people came back. Tina Fey's there, and Tim Meadows, who's one of the funniest dudes of all time. They both come back, and yeah, I thought it was pretty damn good for what it
Mean
was.
Girls. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it for that. Like we said just a few minutes ago, we're going to talk about underrated horror. So stick around after the announcements for that. Curious, what you've been watching lately with Hitchcock and all these others. What do you set like certain themes for yourself? You got Sofia Coppola. What are some other themes that you are thinking about doing coming up?
Well, definitely continuing my director spotlight series with Taste of Sofia Coppola films. Is going to be coming out before the end of the month. So I really, I've got a couple of other directors that are planned for that, and I get comments from the community, whether through polls I put out on my community tab on future directors to spotlight. So Sofia Coppola is coming up next, and I don't remember who I have slotted for February or March. I need to look at my calendar for that. But
Interesting.
yeah, I love continuing our director spotlight series. Got some good feedback on that, but also plan to start talking about what's coming to the Criterion channel and what's leaving the Criterion channel, and then of course tomorrow we're getting announcements from our good friends Arrow Video at 10 a.m. I do a monthly sort of reaction to the Arrow announcements. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Arrow is going to put out in the month of April to get us excited. So fingers crossed they announce some good stuff on tomorrow morning. So we'll see.
Yeah, a couple of those titles leaked, and I'm betting that we're about to have a good exclusive for the UK thing be announced too. So eager to
Ah,
see what they announce. Uh, Chris is saying the people that say physical media is dead are the same jerks that tell me wrestling is fake, and I hope not, because one of those things is true. Uh, yeah, it's maybe that's something that should be mentioned real quick. Is there seems to be a lot of doom and gloom on either side of the aisle for physical media really recently. A lot of
mhm.
people saying it's on the way out because of Best Buy. A lot of people saying we never need to talk about it's dying because look at all of these releases, it's thriving. Truth is, we're in a weird little murky spot in the middle. A lot
Yeah.
of these companies are struggling to survive. A lot of these companies are putting their literally like their saved pennies from their couch into these releases and barely getting by. And when you are only purchasing from one or two different companies, like a lot of the people from Vinegar Syndrome, unfortunately, that there's a lot of these other companies that will barely be able to press discs next month, or maybe
Mm.
they won't be able to put out that lavish release that they were hoping for next year. So keep an
Yeah.
eye on everything. Make sure that you're choosing what you want, of course, but don't try to keep up with the Joneses. It's a big world out there of physical media, and it's certainly important to I don't know, support where you can, but don't put yourself in a bad situation, obviously.
Absolutely. That's some good advice.
Uh, okay, we are on to our discussion, and this week we are discussing underrated 2010s horror. And when we first started talking, again, this was supposed to be for October, and spooky season was upon all of us, and we were eager to talk about it. But this was one that you jumped straight to. Was there a reason that this was so interesting for you?
I would say because it's one that is one that I'm not incredibly versed in, and so I'm always looking to just learn more about films I never heard of or haven't gotten a lot of exposure to, or just genres or filmmakers that I haven't gotten heavily into yet. So this,
Right.
for me, is just an area where I just want to get a little bit more into the horror space. Of course, I have my favorite horror films. I watch quite a bit of horror, but there are a lot of people who watch like a ton of horror films. So for me, this is definitely an area where there's a lot of great horror titles that I have yet to explore. So I'm looking forward to discovering some more of them.
It's just so we can get a taste of the James overall profile. What are some of the bigger, like some of your favorite horror for just from all time?
Yeah, for me, I would definitely put like films like Carrie, from De Palma, one of my all-time favorite horror films. I mean, that film to me is almost perfect as a horror title. When you think about just the actors that are in it, like Piper Laurie, she was so brilliant in that film. Sissy Spacek, John Travolta, Nancy Allen, Amy Irving, I think. Um, they're just wonderful, and the story is
Yeah.
terrific. It's a nice adaptation of the Stephen King story. It's just beautiful. They did a remake of it with Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
That was one of those things where not necessary, but it was okay. It wasn't bad, but the original was perfectly fine. Thank you very much. So I love that. I love The Shining with Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, one of the all-time great horror films.
Yeah.
And I also love, as a follow-up to that, Doctor Sleep,
It's
the
so good,
modern
right?
film. What's that?
It's so good, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, Doctor Sleep. Of course, you have the original film, The Shining, but Doctor Sleep, I thought, did a great job of just expanding on the whole universe of The Shining.
Yeah.
It's like helps you better understand, what is Shining, and you got exposed to these new characters. This basically this group of like vampires, if you would,
Yeah.
led by Rebecca, what's her name, Ferguson,
Ferguson, yeah.
who played Rose the Hat. Just great stuff. So I love that film. Let's see. But yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. Get Out, recently. Of course, the original Halloween, movie. So yeah, I might love a lot of those old classic, horror films like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Carrie, The Shining. But then some of these newer horror titles, I have an appreciation for as well, like
Right.
Get Out, or a horror title that is probably not in the underrated category, but I love it.
Ooh.
Quiet Place. Um, Beautiful, fantastic. John Krasinski, Emily Blunt. Um, and then, when the pandemic happened, this one was delayed, but it finally came out, and I enjoyed it. So, Quiet Place Part Two. So, I'm looking forward to the third installment, which is supposed to be, I guess, a prequel, if you would. It's like
Yeah.
day one, I think. So that should be interesting. And A24. This is decent, pretty good, pretty good. Talk to me.
If you were a fan of sound, talk to me on some of the best sound in a theater experience that I've had in years. Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. So those are some of my favorite horror films. There's some that isn't coming to my mind at the moment, but yeah, it's a fantastic genre that I know I've got. There's a wealth of titles out there that I can get more into for sure.
Many of the ones that you just mentioned lean towards the supernatural side. Is that a subgenre of horror that you tend to lean towards too?
I haven't really thought of it that way. I mean, I would say probably so. Versus like just your standard like jump scare type of affair. Not really heavily into that. Like I do like the original Scream, film.
Yeah.
Like when you get into some of the like franchises, like Scream, it's one of those things where I enjoy the first one. I enjoy the second one, but after that, I've kind of had enough. I don't need, six and seven. It's like, okay, I've seen this formula. I'm good with it. I enjoyed the first couple, but I'm done with that, kind of thing. So, same with like Halloween. It's like, okay, I've seen the original one. I actually like the one from 2018.
It's
The
really well done.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that one. Halloween. Is it Kills? I thought was
Yes.
okay. I still haven't seen Ends. I've heard that they do something crazy and off the wall.
Yeah.
That you sort of think it's going to be a face off between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, and it doesn't quite. And they do something kind of strange with the story that you don't expect, but I haven't seen it yet. So, have you seen it?
I have. I saw it twice, and the first time it was a huge disappointment because I went into it expecting standard Halloween movie, which I like Halloween enough. It's probably my least favorite of the big franchises that everybody always raves about, but it was fine. And then the second time I watched it, I didn't have that expectation. I went, okay, I know they're trying to do something different. Let's see if I can discover something better in it. And having that, it changed the overall feeling of it so much. It wasn't
Oh,
it wasn't god awful. It was at least enjoyable in many of the scenes. It still wasn't a great movie, but it was pretty good.
okay. Yeah, so eventually I'll check that out. So yeah, just a lot of great stuff out there. Or even a film like recently the Criterion Collection put out on 4K a film that I saw when it first came out called The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Yes.
So I can appreciate a well done like ghost story
Yeah.
like that, and that one is very well done, very well
Yeah.
done. It's one that if you haven't seen it, it's it's one of those things where when I was doing the review, I sort of I tend to dot around a little bit and sort of dance around what it's about, but it's basically
Right.
if you go into it knowing that it's a ghost story, it's a period piece set around World War II, and Nicole Kidman is a mother. She's got two children, a son and a daughter, and they live in a house and they're dealing with hauntings. And if you just go into it knowing that and nothing else, then you'll probably really have a satisfying experience watching the film. I mean, it's just a really well done horror film that I really enjoyed. You know,
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, and the fact that it got a 4K release was super surprising, but
oh yeah,
I'm so glad that it did. That's one that I feel like it was mildly popular when it came out, but also horror wasn't doing that great when that movie came out. So I
yeah,
think more people were focused on, we had just seen the big 1999, the greatest movie year ever that everybody claims. So people were into like The Matrix and stuff like that instead
yeah.
of the horror movies, which this one was almost borderline like art house horror. So it should have felt different, but not enough people were giving attention to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a little beat on you, and now we're going to go
Yeah.
through some of our underrated 2010s horror. I guess my list is kind of going to be six tonight because I already named one of them, Frozen. So I'll
Okay.
throw one of my honorable mentions into my list now, and I'll just give it away because Dave just brought it up. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Have you seen this
That was
one?
one of my four. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I love this movie. This movie is with Emil Hirsch and Brian Cox. Brian
Yep.
Cox, I mean, they're both great in this, but Brian Cox is always good. This was 2016, I think 2016 or 17, and when it
Yeah.
came out, it just went under everybody's radar, and I think it's gotten a little bit of love. I think it played on Shudder for a little while, and now it's got physical media releases and stuff, so more people are checking it out. But it's just very vibey. The setting of it is really interesting. It's genuinely creepy. There's scenes in this that you are like looking in the background for something to happen, and since you're already on edge and looking for something, even small things that happen make you feel like it's amplified. And so
Yeah.
you can just tell the filmmakers are really good at ratcheting that tension up, and one that I really suggest checking it out.
Yeah. It has that nice supernatural, vibe to it, and um,
Yeah.
yeah, just it's really fascinating. I think it had like I think it had like realistic autopsy scenes, or that they shot it in a way that made it look as realistic as possible in terms of an actual autopsy, so to speak. So,
Yeah, I apologize for taking one of yours.
oh no, no, it's a good one. It's one of those good creepy horror films, The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Nice. Well, then I will just go again since I took one of yours and go to. I mentioned found footage earlier. I am a big fan of found footage, and one that I feel like it got a little bit of a second push because it was pretty popular on Netflix for a little while, but now nobody talks about it. I really want people to check out As Above, So Below. This is a movie that was filmed around the French catacombs, and
Oh,
I guess there's this area that explorers actually go down into the catacombs, and they filmed the entrance there and everything, and they've had to tell people don't go to this place, it's not super safe. But it's a movie that is it got washed out because that found footage genre from Paranormal Activity in what was 2007 or whatever, for the next decade everything just was kind of awful. Everybody hated all of them. As soon as it was announced, it was just these movies are going to be bad. Nobody should go see them. And so, because of that, some really good films just got plain ignored. And
mm,
this one, oh man, this one is a really interesting. Uh, I don't know. It's almost like The Descent, which is one that a lot of people have seen that I love, but it's got just that. You're underground, so the lighting is already on your side for a horror movie. You are always going to be, did I just see something or was that shadow play? It is a super uniquely shot film because everything is so dark that they have to really they have to give you something. And so because it's filmed handheld, it's rough, but it's just really well made, I think.
mm, awesome.
Strongly suggested. If you are not a fan of found footage, this seems to be one that a lot of people that don't like found footage tend to like.
Okay. Well, I may have to check that one out. Cool stuff.
Suggest it. What do you got
Well,
for us?
I will offer up this one here, which is one of my favorites, really overall, and just a great one from the 2010s. I think it got a second sight 4K that I didn't pick up. I should have, but It Follows, from I think 2014. I think this might qualify as underrated, but it's from David Robert Mitchell, starring Michael Moore. It's like a coming of age film. It has a really nice premise to it, in terms of it's very creepy and very atmospheric in terms of the actual premise of this like supernatural element that follows you after committing certain acts, so to speak. But it's wow, what a really cool movie. It's got some pretty creepy scenes to it in terms of
Yeah.
the actual people that are sort of following, and just the way that it presents itself, and some pretty whacked imagery. But this is a really really good film, and one of my favorite horror titles from the 2010s. It Follows.
How about that tall man scene coming into the apartment?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's one that I definitely need to revisit. I wish I had gotten. Was that Second Sight that did this on 4K?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm kicking myself for not picking that up. That is one of the ones that I should have made the investment to get, but it's just an amazing film, and it's sort of shot in a way where it doesn't really give you a clear bead on the actual time that it's taking place. So it sort of has almost a timeless quality to it. So I really, it's not like set in a specific time period, it's kind of modern day, but it doesn't like let you know that it's the 70s, 80s, 90s, or it's very kind of vague about like, okay, when is this actually happening? So it's not giving you a specific time period, which I
Right.
think gives it a timeless quality. So I appreciate that.
How do you feel about the fact that they are making a sequel to that?
I did not know that. So is it returning any of these characters, or is it just totally
Mike Monroe is returning, I believe, and
Michael
it's the
Moreau
same.
is returning?
I
And I
believe it's the
like
same
her in
director too.
Watcher too. But by the way, but that is interesting. I wonder, is it the same filmmaker? Is it David Robert Mitchell involved, or is it
He is, yeah.
that? I think if they do it right, if they do it right, I'm willing to give it a chance. How do you feel about it?
I'm excited because they are involving the same people, so I feel like
Yep.
they'll be invested in it. However, is it needed? Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things. Like I'm not against franchises per se. It just this one feels a little odd to franchise.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it makes me think about, and again, it just comes down to, if they do it right, then okay, it's sort of like Top Gun. When I first heard about, oh, they're gonna do a sequel to Top Gun, I
Yeah.
thought, okay, skip. But Maverick was amazing, right? So if they do it right, then so be it. But if not, then you sort of wish they would have just left it alone. But we shall see.
So my next one is 2014. This is a film that is, let's see, what is the best way to describe this before I give away the title? It is a film that people have not seen, and I really wish they would. It's a film that starts off as what feels like it's going to be an indictment on the Harvey Weinsteins of Hollywood, and it still is, but it ends up being a complete body horror film. For those that have seen it, you're already screaming it probably. 2014's Starry Eyes. Now, not many people have seen this movie. This movie is fantastic. This is starring Alexandra Eso, I think is her last name. She is one of the Mike Flanagan pack now, who is in all of like the Midnight Mass. She's in the brand new one that he just did. She was in Doctor Sleep, we mentioned earlier. She is an incredible actress, and she is going to audition in Hollywood. And
Yeah.
something happens, and her body starts to revolt against her. This movie is creepy as hell. It is supremely well acted for what ends up being a fairly low budget film, and very, very curious to see how many people in the chat have seen it. Starry Eyes is underrated in many different ways, but primarily I want to say this because it is such a unique storyline. Not enough people try to direct things that are, we'll say, against the Hollywood system from within the Hollywood system. And this movie is a really, really great, obvious indictment of just the major creep factor that they had for so many years.
Wow. Yeah, I have not seen it, but it definitely sounds interesting. I mean, with the body horror, it sounds almost David Cronenbergy.
Yeah, a
Is
couple scenes maybe.
okay, interesting.
Yeah,
May
it's
have to
great.
check that one out.
All right, sir.
Let's see, what do I have here? I was before coming on here, I was trying to find the physical copy. I don't know where my physical copy of this film is, but this is a film as The Cabin in the Woods from 2012, and my physical copy is somewhere around here. And I've seen when I saw it, I know a lot of people love this movie, but it's one that I feel like I need to revisit because when I watched it and I kind of saw what was going on, I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I can definitely understand the appeal that people have, for it. It sort of, dismantles your typical, horror tropes, and I can certainly appreciate that. And has a really nice cast, with Kristen Connolly and Chris Hemsworth, Thor, and you have these friends who basically become pawns in this interesting, sinister game, so to speak. And it just sort of it's one of those things that it subverts your expectations type of a film. And
Many times over.
I can appreciate that in some situations, but in this case, I was left not really appreciating it as much. I kind of felt like, oh, okay, but maybe I need to revisit this film. I'd be very interested to hear in the chat how many people love The Cabin in the Woods from 2012. This is one that I'll revisit.
This is one that I saw opening weekend in a theater, and I was really lucky. I lived in California when this came out, and I was about 40 minutes from one of the only theaters that has D-box seats. And I went and saw Cabin in the Woods in D-box, which is it's like this 4D experience where there's the seat will move ever so slightly with they've like timed it with the certain things in the film. There are like rumblers in the seat, so if something happens, it gives you this jolt a little bit. It's pretty fantastic, and there's a couple things that really stuck out from this, and even from the beginning, I knew I was going to love it because one of the opening scenes is a crane shot going up over this apartment that the characters live in as they're trying to gather this party that's going to go to the cabin in the woods, and the crane lifts up to the window, and the way they programmed this chair, it felt like I was rising 20 feet above the ground. It was wild. Absolutely loved experiencing it in D-box.
Cool effect.
It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Man, yeah, lots of people in the chat loving it too. Let's see. Next up for me is the oldest year that we can go to. I'm going to go all the way back to 2010 and say that I really appreciated a film that I saw for the first time on DVD, and I think that's still the DVD I have, and that is 2010's Stakeland. This, I think, is one of the best vampire movies that was ever made, and unfortunately, it made like no money. And based on that, I have a feeling most people have never seen this. Thankfully, it's gotten a little bit of a second life. It has played great on Shudder. I think it even got a sequel. But as far as vampire films go, we haven't gotten a lot of great vampire films over the last 20 years. So if you have not seen this one, highly, highly recommend checking it out. It is kind of a road film mixed with vampires, and there's actually scary vampires, which is not something in a lot of vampire movies that you normally get. It's normally done in like a sex appeal kind of way, or done in a more like a mysterious way. But Stakeland is done in a way that you are actually, holy hell, like these are terror villains. These are people that scare the hell out of you. I really, really recommend checking these out. I've not been able to see the second one yet, but I would like to check it for sure.
Cool.
All right.
Good vampire movie. Yeah, that's cool. Well, the next one I will go with, and you'll tell me if this qualifies as underrated, but it's one that is from Mr. Robert Eggers' Evil Takes Many Forms. It's The Witch. This might not be underrated per se. I think a lot of people love this, but yeah, this is a really, really fascinating atmospheric film with Anya Taylor-Joy. It's a
Yeah.
period piece. She's part of a Puritan family in New England in the 30s, so the 17th century, and they're dealing with some supernatural forces, and it's just one of those creepy, atmospheric kind of horror films, and it's very, very well done by Mr. Eggers. I think is is he the same director who did Last Night? No, not Last Night in Soho. No, that was a different director, but he did a Lighthouse, I think, as well.
Correct.
So, but yeah, just a very, very creepy, fascinating, period piece that I think is, very, very well done with a nice supernatural element, and Anya Taylor Joy, did a really nice job in her performance in the film.
This is one of the greatest horror films of all time, in my
One of
opinion.
those nice slow burns, slow
Yes.
burn tension, and just really, really good stuff.
Gave the world Anya Taylor-Joy that she has been delivering ever since this movie. So
Yeah.
very
Oh
glad
yeah,
that this
and
one exists.
she was in Last Night in Soho, so she starred in that
Yep.
film as well, but different director. But that's another film I really like as well.
My next one, and then for my last one after this, I have a cheat. That's going to be two films. So my next one, I'm going to go with a film that got a physical release from Draft House Films a handful of years ago. This is the movie Cheap Thrills, and this is more of a you can't. This is one of those that you can't really say this is a horror movie. This is like uh, uh, not home invasion, but it's like a weird ramp up the tension thriller type of movie that goes into some horror adjacent scenes, and
Hmm.
it is really well made. It stars David Koechner of all people, and basically a story of somebody that is willing to pay somebody to do silly bets in a bar. And they're doing a couple things, and as he offers a couple dollars, it's for silly, benign things, but as he offers more money, things start to get crazier. And they leave the
Yeah,
bar and they go back to a house. And as you can tell, what's going to happen, it starts ramping up into crazy off the wall things of just, hey, if you do this, I'll give you $100,000. And
yeah,
based
cool.
on the tension building from those, it gets wild. Absolutely love this movie. It is insanely well acted. If you are able to watch this is one that has some of the more understated and really great performances from people that you'll go, oh, it's that guy, because you've seen him in 19 other things, but you don't recognize his name. I completely love Cheap Thrills.
Cheap Thrills. Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
sir.
that premise sounds like one that I would be, interested in. When it just sort of
Yeah,
continues to step up and gets crazier and crazier, and you're just wondering what's going to happen next, and where is this going to go? And yeah, that's fascinating.
it's a fun one
Yeah,
for sure.
but yeah, those are the ones that I had. So those are the main ones that I had to highlight as far
Perfect.
as my underrated. So if you can go to your next one.
I will throw my cheat out there as the last thing to mention then, and I was going to bring up, I think it's 2015's The Invitation, and then I think it's the year later, it might be 2016. There's another film called Coherence. Now, both of these movies are essentially surrounding a dinner party. I don't know how this turned into an interesting genre for like 3 years in the horror adjacent field, but The Invitation, Coherence, and even like your next is kind of in that same genre of just, we're going to throw a dinner party and some weird things are going to happen. So the invitation is basically some friends discover that the world is ending while they're at this year-end party. They're here for a cult experience basically, and it devolves from there. Coherence, something happens and they believe that there is another set of their entire house, like a mirror image of all of the people in their house, across the road. And they have to go find out what's going on because they're losing power. There's no way to contact anybody. It's great. And then your next, of course, is basically a home invasion around a dinner party. But either way, these are really great mindfuck type of movies. And if you've never seen these, strongly recommend them. Coherence is the one that I think probably is a little bit lesser, but if you find the story behind the film, it's much more interesting. And so what it was, Coherence has the cast writing the film as they're acting in the film.
Wow.
Literally, they have one
It's
person
real
that's
like meta sounding, you know?
yes, they have
Yeah.
one person coordinating behind the camera that give one of the actors, here's where we need you to get as we film tonight. You get to decide how we get there. And so they're building the story together in real time.
Oh, wow.
Fascinating.
That's pretty unique.
Yes. And it was released by Oscilloscope. That's how I discovered it. I subscribed to Oscilloscope and got that from them years ago. It was a huge discovery for me. Loved that movie. The Invitation stars Logan Marshall Green, who was in Upgrade. A lot of people will recognize that. And then your next is huge movie. It's the one that's most overrated of the three, probably. But yeah, The Invitation's a little slept on. Coherence is very slept on. Highly recommend all of those. They do incredible work on them.
Awesome.
All right.
The Invitation and what was the other one called again?
Coherence.
Coherence. Okay.
It's weird because it's like a doppelganger film mixed in what feels like a time travel film. It's hard to explain. Coherence is great.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I had, let's see, I had one honorable mention that I didn't mention, and I will throw out New Zealand's Housebound. This is about an individual that gets in trouble. She's told she's not allowed to leave the house. She's wearing an ankle bracelet. Something starts to go down, and she starts to suspect that the house was used for nefarious purposes years ago. And she's trying to investigate, but she can't leave the house. And she thinks the neighbor has something to do it, so she can only leave for like 30 seconds. So she's got to run over there and come back. And there's a lot of great stuff happening there. But it's a horror comedy from New Zealand, and it delivers on the laughs and the scares, which a lot of horror comedies do not do. Usually they lean towards one or the other.
Yeah.
Housebound is actually pretty good on keeping it fairly balanced.
Cool. Horror comedy. That's cool.
Any recommendations from the chat from 2010's underrated horror? People shouting out Hereditary is the one I can't erase from my mind. That's a big one, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Yeah, but Tony Collette, is that correct? I think.
Yeah, Tony Collette's amazing. Let me see.
That's a good movie.
Kubrick Lover said, I think I enjoyed Housebound. I think it was on Joe Bob's show on Shudder. Interesting. Robert Bellissimo, what's going on,
Robert?
my dude? Hello. Let's see. Krampus, that's a good one. Another one that was released by Scream Factory.
Cool.
2018's The Possession of Hannah Grace is underrated. That's a pretty good movie. Toby Hooper's Gin. That was like 2006, wasn't it? Was that 2010s? Not that I will say it's inherently wrong, Stan, but the Crazies remake, I love that one. The Loved Ones, very good film, definitely deserving of a 4K release, and honestly would fit in quite well with a lot of the second sight releases that they've been doing recently.
Yeah, I'm seeing the Gin is 2013, I think.
Oh, I'm way off then. A couple recommendations: Savage Land, I Trapped the Devil, The Visit, The Oregonian, and Late Phases. I will say I Trapped the Devil surprised the heck out of me. Very good for what it is, and I would not be surprised if that movie had less than a $20,000 budget. That movie did so much with so little. Mm-hmm. It was an achievement. The Borderlands was a good one. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Loved that movie. Have you seen that one?
I have not. I have not seen that one.
This one might be up your alley, and it was released by Kino, so you can probably get it fairly cheap. It is, I think it was made in America by an Iranian filmmaker, or something like that. It's a female filmmaker from the Middle East, I believe, and it's a very stylish vampire film. Very well done. One Cut of the Dead, masterpiece, absolutely. Have you checked out One Cut of the Dead yet?
I have not.
It's a Japanese, it's not really found footage. I don't know what you would call it, but it is a movie that shows a handful of Japanese characters that are making a movie together that they are filming like they are being attacked by zombies. And after about 25 minutes, you realize that what they were showing you for those 25 minutes was not exactly as it seems. and everything changes, and it's one of the most brilliant premises in movie history.
Okay. One cut of the dead. Okay.
Piranha 3D, that's a good one. I agree there. Hounds of Love is incredible. Wind Chill is highly underrated. A couple good ones from Silent Mandible, A Field in England, and Dead Snow 2. Thought
I'm definitely
Overload.
getting some nice recommendations, so that's good.
Yeah, I hope people are making a list by some of these. I thought Overlord was actually pretty underrated when it came out. Yes, it was. Raw is a good one. Have you seen Raw? I feel like you would appreciate Raw.
I have not. I'll have to check that one out.
That is a French film by a female filmmaker that is about cannibalism, but it's not quite as surface level of that. It's almost like an art house type film. It's very well done. Under the Shadow. This one I would say is maybe the most underrated that's been mentioned tonight. Under the Shadow is I keep wanting to say Iranian. I don't think this one's from Iran, but it's from the Middle East as well, and it's a very like folk horror type film that is built upon some of the terrors of war, actually. And they take the way that they were affected by some of that, and they deliver genuinely some of the best jump scares I've ever seen in film, and it's deserved jump scares. It's not the gimmicky jump scares.
Contrived kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Completely recommend it.
Okay.
Chris wants to get Raw from Second Sight, but it's hard to get. Yeah, that one did pretty well, pretty quickly, sadly. Yeah. Under the Shadow is Iranian. How did I get that right twice with the same country? Kill List. Oh man, have you seen Kill List yet?
I have not. That's another one I need to add to my list.
Let's see. Well, look, there's the invitation right there. I usually have it right behind me, but Kill List is one that it starts as a crime film, and then it turns into this random cult folk horror film at the end, and it takes one of the weirdest out-of-nowhere twists that you would ever expect.
Okay.
Fish and Cat in the Sharam Mokri set that was released by Deaf Crocodile is one that I would definitely recommend. Highly underrated, and if people do not have it, very well priced, I may say, from the Vinegar Syndrome website for or is it 4? It's been a long time since I opened that thing. The box set from Deaf Crocodile is incredible. Incredible. Neon Demon, that's definitely one that's been underrated by now for sure. Let Me In was a great remake. I completely agree. Surprisingly good. Robert, we were going over underrated 2010s horror films. Baskin is a wild one. This is a movie from like Slovenia or something, somewhere around that area, Eastern European film, and it is a bunch of dudes that go into the worst possible position, and they deliver some of the weirdest out of nowhere horror shots that I've ever seen in what is a really great set piece, like an underground, not quite cavern, but it's like an underground castle looking area. It's just stupendous filmmaking. The remake for Suspiria, I feel like you would like that one quite a bit too.
Yeah, that's one I think that came out. I think that has an Arrow release, Dario Argento. But I need to definitely pick that one up eventually.
Suspiria has a Synapse release.
Okay.
Possum, that's a good one for sure. Man, there is a lot coming in. The Watcher, past the 2010s, but worth it. Field in England, along with Kill List. Yes, Ben Wheatley is great at what he does. Flesh of the Void. The Void, that's another good one too. Blackcoat's Daughter, that is a strong film. I like that much more than I expected to. Under the Skin, if you are watching Zone of Interest this year, Under the Skin is one you should definitely check out.
Yeah, that's one. That's the one with Scarlett Johansson.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one that it's one of those ones I saw, and it's one I probably will. It'll be a while before I revisit that one. That one kind of creeped me out.
Incredible director behind that for sure.
Yeah.
Under the Skin, but is Under the Skin overrated? I do not think so at all. I think hardly anybody has seen Under the Skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely underrated. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it is probably about time to call it then, my friend. I'm just so glad that we were finally able to do this, get you on here. This is one that, again, I've watched you for a long time. I was eager to have you on here, and I think your voice is one that needs to be raised amongst a lot of people because you've got diverse taste. You've got the interesting way of analyzing these things, and your reviews are always just so in depth in not a lot of time either. You put a lot of thought into these things, and you're not one of those that'll do like a 40-minute review on the film to basically say nothing. You pack a lot of punch in a little bit of time.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, Ryan. And I mean, you do awesome stuff, over here, and just seeing all the great stuff that's coming out in physical media and your coverage of it, and just your knowledge of, all these labels and what they're doing is just incredible. So I'm like a sponge, soaking that up, just hearing, some of the other live streams that you've done. I'm like, yeah, I need to check out that label. I should check out that label, at some point, and because they're doing great stuff. So yeah, I definitely appreciate it, and really appreciate the opportunity to come out here tonight and to finally get our schedules coordinated and be able to connect. So really appreciate the invite, and thank you for having me.
Everybody go subscribe to James. Link is in the description below. If you're interested in a community that loves talking about things like this all the time, Patreon link in the description below. If you go in at the $7 level or above, you get into the Discord. Even while we were streaming tonight, there was a bunch of posts in the Discord. We have one of the most active movie communities online that I've ever seen. Love everybody in there. Thank you all for what you do. Again, thank you, James. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
All right, have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share with someone else that may appreciate this.